Now we're gonna prepare our classic American chocolate chip cookie. It is found in every bake shop and coffee shop where I'm from. It's something that we make at our bakery every single day. It's one of my favorite cookies. The way that we're gonna prepare it here is very traditional. What I like to do is I like to add a little bit of cocoa powder to it, just a little bit, and it helps bring out the chocolate chips that are in the cookie. Another thing that I really love about this cookie is that there's a lot of room to play and explore in your own kitchen. You can use white chocolate, you can use caramel, you can put nuts in. It's really a nice place to add herbs. I love doing this variation and adding rosemary and walnuts with my chocolate chips. So there's just a lot of room to play, and I absolutely encourage you to have fun with this recipe on your own. To prepare our chocolate chip dough, we're gonna start with butter. Again, this is nice softened butter, so it's at room temperature. Put that in. Give this 5 seconds here before we start adding our brown sugar and our white sugar. And this is the creaming method, mixing butter with sugar, and what the sugar is doing is it's starting to really blend into the butter and aerate it so that when it bakes, it creates structure. Okay, I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna scrape down my bowl so I can make sure all the butter and sugar are mixing together. I'll give this about 1 more minute before I add my eggs. And so I can prepare that over here. I'll put my vanilla in here with it. This is looking good. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna scrape down again. There's so much scraping down of butter and sugar in baking. Okay, great. Turn this back on and add in my vanilla and eggs. We'll give that 1 or 2 minutes. Okay, my butter, sugar, eggs, and vanilla are looking great. Scrape that again. And now we can start adding our dries in. So I'm gonna add my salt, my leavener here, and mix. Make sure those are even. And now I'll start adding my flour. I'll also put my cocoa powder in here. The cocoa powder is optional. If you don't want a rich chocolate taste, skip this. But if you do, I do recommend putting a little bit of cocoa powder in there. It's a bit of a secret ingredient that gives it a nice, richer flavor. So I'm gonna add half of my flour in. On low. And we'll mix this until all the floury bits are gone. It's about 30 seconds. Great, okay. Give it a bit of a scrape, make sure nothing's stuck at the bottom here. Great, and in this last addition of the flour, I will also add my chocolate chips. And again, I recommend playing as much as you want with inclusions. Here we have chocolate chips, but it could be anything you want. It can go into this cookie. So make sure we get it all. Stop it here. I can see that there's still flour at the bottom, but I want to finish that by hand. So it's really important not to over mix our cookie doughs, and the reason for that is the wheat flour that we use. In this case, we're using an all-purpose wheat flour. Once that flour gets wet, the gluten starts activating in that, and we don't want to let it activate too long because then it will get tough and chewy and not in a good way. We're not making bread here, so we don't want to develop long gluten strands. We want to keep them nice and short. And so we keep them mixing to a minimum. And so here there's flour at the bottom still, but I'm going to use my hand and spatula to finish this part so that I'm not over mixing. And this way the cookie will be nice and tender. Fantastic. Great. This looks good. So this cookie dough is ready to be scooped. Let's scoop our classic chocolate chip cookie dough now. So I'm using this size scoop. You can use any scoop that you want. And these ones are gonna really spread out in the oven, so we don't have to reshape this dough. We can put them in just like that. Okay. Perfect. I personally like to add a little bit of flaky sea salt on top of this. So I'll do that for half. You can decide at home what you want to finish yours with, but this is an option if you like a salty sweet combination. These will go into the oven at 160 degrees Celsius for 18 to 24 minutes, depending on your oven. If you like a crispier cookie, a flat crispy cookie, what I would recommend is if you spread them down like this, these will bake out flatter and they'll have a really crunchy edge. I like mine to have a little bit of crunch on the outside and chewy on the inside, so I'm gonna keep them like this. And you're gonna look for them being golden on the outside and the shiny finish is gonna go away. We have our finished classic chocolate chip cookie here, and they look fantastic. You can see the little bit of flaky salt on the finish, which really helps bring the cookie to life. And it's got a flaky salt on the top, which looks really nice. And I can smell there's so much chocolate in it. And because of that little bit of cocoa powder we brought it into it, it's gonna be extra chocolatey as its secret ingredient. So these are pretty soft and moist when we break into them. So I would recommend eating them the same day, actually fresh out of the oven. When they're still warm, with a scoop of ice cream is my absolute favorite way to enjoy this, and I invite you to do the same. But I would try and eat these in 1 to 2 days after you bake them to really get that fresh flavor with these.